So my name is Kelly Ray Ennis and I'm a business coach with TMH. Today we're going to be talking about improving your sales. So we want to start with you reflecting on your current situation and setting some goals. So we want you to think about things like the number of clients you have per month or per year, the number of revenue or the amount of revenue that you do, perhaps the amount of leads that you have per month, maybe the conversion rate of those leads. So 5 out of 10 leads become customers, 50% conversion rate. Pick a number that is measurable that you want to change. So write that down now. If you're having trouble thinking of a number, it's possible that you may not be tracking things correctly. So you should be tracking things like leads and customers and conversion rate and revenue, net profit, many other things. But just pick one of those numbers for now and we'll move on. So let's decide exactly what you're going to get out of today. Where would you like to be in the next year, 5 years or 10 years regarding that number? So for example, if you said that you currently have 10 leads a week or a month, how many leads per week or per month would you like to have a year from now? So write down your goal and then we'll move on. Okay, so today we want to talk about why the old way of selling is dead. I think we've all got an example of a time or a situation where we've sold something to someone or we've been sold something by someone, and it just leaves sort of a bad feeling in your head, or leaves you with buyer's remorse. So nobody feels good when you force someone to buy something that isn't the best for them, or when you're forced to buy something that isn't the best for you. We talk about an Eskimo not needing ice. So we don't want to teach you how to sell ice to Eskimos today. We want to teach you to sell an Eskimo a heater or earmuffs or something that they can actually use. We're not out to try and force people to buy something that they don't want. What we're trying to do here is bring people who really need and want your exact product or services to you. So they'll be asking you for what you're selling, rather than you chasing people who don't want what you're selling. So now I want you to take a moment or two to think of a time that you pushed a sale and it wasn't necessarily in the customer's best interests. Write that down and think about how it made you feel. If you've never sold something to someone who didn't really need it, I think you should try harder to remember a time. But if you really can't, then write down a time when you were sold something that you didn't necessarily 100% need, or a time when you experienced buyer's remorse. So we can always agree that selling something someone doesn't need or truly want is not good for anyone. It doesn't make you feel good. You don't get a repeat customer out of it. You don't get a raving fan out of it. So what we're out to do today is to teach you about the new way of selling. The new way of selling means gaining trust prior to selling, using an online focus. So when we see ads, we know they're ads. We're smart. We see commercials that's trying to sell us a car, or we see a billboard trying to tell us to listen to a radio station. We get that they're ads. As people, we're exposed to an average of 3,000 advertisements a day. 3,000. So we want to make sure that when we are talking to possible customers that we stand out. Word of mouth has been called the best form of advertising, and I don't dispute that. We truly believe that word of mouth is the best form of advertising, but word of mouth is now online. So instead of just having one neighbor tell another neighbor how great you are, you could have one neighbor on Facebook tell 500 neighbors how great you are. So there are a few ways that we're going to build trust before trying to sell to people. Focus on building relationships with your audience before asking for the sale. Position yourself and your team as likable, trustworthy, credible sources of information. Help people solve their problems. You can use examples of people who've had similar problems and tell them how you've helped them. Show the benefits of your product or service before asking people to buy. Show your credibility and qualifications. Be organized. Establish trust and encourage momentum. Be an authority. Be liked, likable. Establish trust and differentiation. Deliver actionable, valuable product or service that they will feel good about purchasing. Find talkers and get them talking. Join conversations on social media. Do something amazing and record it. Make a video, get it out there. Create content that makes people think, I have to tell my friends about this. So share worthy content. Find conversations occurring online and get involved. Turn unhappy people into happy customers. Track what's being said about your company. Do surveys. Pay attention. Act as your company and go out and interact with other company pages. Now I want to talk about filling your day with A customers. A customers are, A can be for awesome, A can be for amazing, whatever you choose, but A customers are the customers that you leave your interactions feeling inspired and energized and happy. Like you could work with that customer all day long and just feel great about it. A customers pay what you ask them to pay. They don't take an extraordinary amount of time to deal with them. You really enjoy interacting with them, and basically we want to fill your day with A customers. So there's a few ways to figure out who those A customers are. If you're lucky enough to have a customer list, which I hope everyone has, you can go back and look at the customers' names and what they spent, what they bought, and really, hopefully you're tracking the amount of hours that you spent with each client, but if you're not, you should start. At least try to estimate how many hours you spent with the clients. So you want to figure out who spends the most money with requiring the least amount of your time and is the best to deal with. So it's up to you to pick who your A customers are, but if you have 100 customers, try to find 10 A customers. We want to get at least 10% of your customers. If you have millions of customers, you can scale it down a little bit, but we need to really look at your top 10% and make decisions here. So when we find out who those A customers are, that's who we're going to craft our marketing message to. We want to identify your primary and secondary target markets. So if A customers are your primary target markets, B customers will be your secondary target markets. We're going to craft two different messages for two different targets, because if we try to be everything to everyone, we'll miss some people. If we really want to speak to your A customers, we have to give them a message that's built just for them. If we really want to speak to the B customers, we have to give them a message that's crafted just for them. Because remember, 3,000 advertising messages a day, not just a generic message will catch their attention or grab them or pull them in. So when you get your customer list in front of you and you're looking at who your best customers are, I want you to start noticing similarities. So I want you to look at age, where they go to church, where their kids play sports, where they live, what neighborhoods they live in, what they do for a living, what their annual income is. Start to look for characteristics that are similar with your A customers. You'll probably find that 80 to 90% of them share some characteristics, which is awesome for us because then we know where they are, what they're doing, and how they think. That's where our messages are going to be, okay? We also are going to do some surveys, and we'll talk about those in a bit, to find out what their biggest desire is or what their burning desire is, because we want to answer that. We want to service that burning desire with our product or service. So there's two ways to figure out your A and B customers and your primary and secondary target market segments. Number one is doing your customer list analysis, so analyzing the past customers that you've had. And number two is doing your surveys. So we'll talk about surveys now. Basically, you're going to find at least 3, minimum 3. 10 is better, 30 is even better. So you want to find people who already are customers, who are really great customers, or people that you want to get as customers, who would be really great customers. And I want you to survey them. We're going to ask them things like, what information sources do you look at? Do you watch TV? Do you hear ads on the radio? Do you read magazines? Which magazines? Do you use Facebook? Do you use Instagram? Do you use Twitter? Are you on Snapchat? Go through every possible advertising medium that you might use and ask them if they notice them. So for example, if you're thinking about advertising on a billboard, ask all your best customers if they notice ads on billboards. And don't just ask the generic question, oh, do you ever look at billboards? Ask them, tell me about a few ads you've seen on billboards lately. They probably can't remember anything, okay? Maybe they do. If your A customers all love looking at billboards and they can rattle off the last 3 ads they saw on their I might recommend that you look at advertising on a billboard. Most likely you're going to find that a lot of your target customers are online because everyone is online nowadays. The fastest growing demographic on Facebook are 45 to 55-year-old women. And we know that women hold a lot of the buying power in the household. So a lot of you, depending on your business, your product or service, will be targeting the fastest growing group on Facebook. So make sure that you don't discount one type of media over another because you watch one type of media over another. For example, my mom isn't a huge fan of social media, but that doesn't mean that her customers might not be on social media. Another example would be my customers who always listen to the radio. They think that since they're always listening to the radio on the way to work, everybody else is listening to the radio on the way to work. Unfortunately, a lot of us, of their target customers, I'm one of their target customers, I listen to satellite radio. So I never hear commercials on the radio because I get satellite radio specifically because it's commercial free. So if they're spending all their money on radio and they're targeting me, they're wasting their money. Another example would be TV. You know, if you're in the 55 plus crowd, you own a business, you might think that everybody watches the local news. A lot of people who aren't 55 plus are getting the news on their phone or on Twitter. They're not sitting down, you know, like traditionally people used to sit down and eat dinner together or watch the news, or the way that the business owner thinks is not the way that the customers are thinking. Do your surveys, ask them what they're doing, what they're watching, what they're reading, and find out where they are so you can advertise there. Also during the survey, you need to ask them, what is their biggest problem in life? What are they scared of? What are they worried about? What problem can your product or service solve for them? We really want to know where we can come in as the hero or the expert and give them advice or service or product that will save the day, that will make everything great for them. So get really specific. Make sure you get the answer out of them. What are they looking for from a company like yours? And also, if they are customers already, ask them why they chose to do business with you. That is a really great insight. It might be for some reason that you have no clue. It might be because they like your location. It might be because they like your front end person. It might be because you have the best prices, but find that out because that's what's making people buy your product, and we want to do more of that. Also, if you've got someone who isn't a customer, ask them why they aren't a customer. You know, that's really valuable information too. You might have the worst receptionist in the world and not even know it, and people like your product, your price, everything about you, but when they called and your receptionist was rude, they don't want to buy anymore. So do your surveys. The reason we're asking all these questions and we're surveying people and we're figuring out exactly what our marketing message will be is because a lot of us tend to create marketing messages that are either trying to sell to us. So I would say a certain thing because that's what I want to hear, but that's not right. I need to find out what my target customers want to hear. Another example would be generalizing. So if we are trying to be everything to everyone, like I said, our message isn't going to catch the attention of the people we really want. Okay, check out these videos on 2 different types of coffee.
Give me a few minutes, Pete. Give me a second, Pete. Man's second best friend. Brew the love. Keurig.
So Keurig coffee is all about speedy cup of coffee, really fast cup of coffee. You know, in the ad, I'm thinking of the dog doesn't have to wait as long for his walk because the owner gets a quicker cup of coffee. Chemex is this really intense, like scientific beaker setup, sort of half an hour process with special filters, and you have to check the temperature of the water and everything. It's crazy. It's like this big scientific process, and it takes forever, and you get one cup of coffee. So I want you to think about Keurig, speedy cup of coffee, and Chemex, scientific, amazing cup of coffee. I don't know, I'm not a coffee connoisseur. Maybe you are, and I'm sorry if I've offended you. But the Keurig cup and the Chemex cup, they cannot sell those products with the same marketing message. Because if I were to market Keurig and Chemex as a speedy cup of coffee, that would be a lie, because Chemex is not speedy, and those people would be very disappointed if they were looking for a speedy cup of coffee. And if we marketed Chemex and Keurig the same way to coffee connoisseurs who expect a lengthy process and a perfect cup of coffee, they might be disappointed with Keurig. So I want you to see how different brands, different products, different services must have a different message. So I want to give you a warning here. Most business owners don't estimate things properly. So when I talk to my clients and I ask them, what's your profit margins? What's your conversion rates? What percentage of your leads come from television, radio, newspaper? They always estimate numbers. They're like 10%, 50%, 20%. They're always wrong. And don't get offended if you're watching this. We're all always wrong. We're never exactly right, okay? So I need you to exactly calculate these numbers. If you are guessing wrong with those type of numbers, you're probably guessing wrong at who your target market segment is. So please don't skip the surveys and just guess at who your target market segments are, okay? You need to actually do the work here. Okay, so when you're crafting your marketing message, we need to talk about what your product or service is. We need to talk about who it's for, and we need to talk about the specific use or reason for the product or service. We don't want you to be a commodity. We want you to position yourself as different from the competition. We don't want you to try and be all things to all people. We want you to stand out in the minds of your target audience. We want you to position yourself in the eyes of your customers as the solution to their problem. We want you to really focus in on something specific, either a specific need in them, a specific selling point of yours. One great example of a company who really differentiated themselves in an industry that is full of similar competitors is Nerd Fitness. So you can see by that webpage that Nerd Fitness is doing something a lot different than the other online fitness trainers out there. There are so many online fitness trainers competing for the same market share, and I haven't seen another one who did anything like Nerd Fitness. So they've been doing really well because of that. So what is your marketing promise going to be? What's your marketing message going to say? What is your answer to your customers' biggest needs? This will be a lot easier to write out after you do your surveys. So make sure you do those surveys, because again, we're looking for what it is that you're selling, who it is that you're selling it to, and what the specific use is. Again, you must interview at least 3 real people. I would ask that you do 10 or more from your target market segment. These are prospects you want as customers or customers who have already purchased, and make sure they know that you're not trying to sell them anything. Just ask them if you can have 10 minutes. They'll be really honored that you want their opinions. Here's a great list of questions to start with your surveys. So use these questions, but add your questions too, because you are the expert in your business. So here you go, write these down. Take a minute to pause the video and write these down now. Now for the $1 million question, and one every ad rep swears they can help you with. Where should you spend your advertising dollars? There are many different platforms: TV, radio, newspapers, billboards, the world of online, Google AdWords, social media, and you really can't answer this question, and neither can I. The only people who can answer it for you are the people you're going to survey. So we need to know where they are, what they're doing, what they listen to, what they watch. So do your surveys. When you find out where your target market segment is, then you know where to spend your marketing dollars. And you're going to craft your marketing message according to the needs that you've found in your research. The idea of targeting this market so specifically is that we're not degrading ourselves by chasing after anyone or, yelling our message out to the world to people who aren't interested. We're just showing how credible we are, we're showing what we have, and we're showing that we're the answer to your problems. And then they're going to come. I want to touch on lead conversion. So turning your leads into customers. So every time someone inquires online, calls into your place of business, shows up in your place of business, I want you to really think of them as someone saying, I'm here and I want to buy something. So we need to be very careful with who touches our leads. And I don't mean touches like physically touches, but I mean like who interacts with your leads. Does a receptionist answer your phone? Do you have a sales force that's out visiting people or going into businesses? Do you have someone monitoring your social media? You need to have social media guidelines for them. Take a moment to write down your process, your sales process, and what happens when a lead comes in, whether it's from the phone, social media, online, any other way that you might accept leads. Also notice that you're tracking, if you're tracking or not tracking. So are you tracking every phone call? Are you tracking every email? Are you tracking every social media interaction? Do you know what's happening with all of your leads? I have a client that wasn't keeping track of anything, that wasn't doing a great job with social media management, wasn't really doing a great job with customer service, and we looked at the amount of leads they had per month, and they were only converting 10%. So imagine the increase in their revenue, and they increased that conversion rate to 50%. So if you're converting 10% of your leads compared to converting 50% of your leads, that's a lot more money in your bank account every month. Take some time to figure out who and what is happening, who's dealing with your leads and what is happening with every lead, and systemize it. Make a flow chart for people, make a manual, make instructions, make sure that your staff know how you want every lead dealt with. In a really great company where the staff and the leadership are really connected, the customers can't tell who owns the store. The customers feel like every employee owns the store. So make sure that you make it really easy for your staff to treat the leads exactly the way that you would, and you'll increase your conversion. I cannot stress enough the importance of tracking. If you're not tracking, you can improve it. So track everything. When you do track everything, you can use all of your statistics that you've come up with for the year at your next marketing strategy planning session. So if this whole year we're doing social media and TV and radio, and we're tracking our lead generation, we're tracking our conversion, we're tracking where people heard about us, then when we sit down for next year, we can look at our return on investment for each of the spends, and we can decide where to spend money the next year. I also recommend ongoing surveys. So whether it's email surveys, whether it's in-person surveys, a great example is like a salon. If someone's getting their hair done, you've got an iPad or a clipboard, and you can get your customer to do a survey while you're doing their hair. That's amazing. You've got a captive audience. Other examples include phone surveys. Or like I said, you can ask people to go out for lunch and survey them that way, but just make sure you continue to do surveys. So the last important topic that we will talk about today are your incredibly important existing customers. So we all know that it costs a lot more to buy a new customer than keep a current customer. So if you're like most businesses, you probably have more than one product or service, and you have an opportunity to resell the same product or service or sell other products or services to the same customers. So if you are a shoe store and you've sold a customer sneakers, you could also sell them dress shoes. You get where I'm going with this? You should be compiling an email database for sure, so you can keep in touch with your customers at least quarterly, up to 3 times a month. You should also be doing surveys with them to make sure that they're happy. You should also be encouraging them to give you referrals, because if somebody's not referring you, they're not actually as happy as they could be. And remember, your current customers, the ones you already have, are your best referral sources. And they're free. They're free advertising. So the happier your current customers are, the less you're going to spend on advertising. And remember, word of mouth is the best form of advertising, right? So we want your current customers on social media raving about you. If you'd like some more specific to-dos on social media, we do have a free ebook on our website called Social Media for Business. Make sure you do your interviews. Everything hinges on those interviews. So please take the time and do it for yourself, your business, your bank account. Thank you so much for watching.